This week's video is much different than a lot of the rest. I'm on vacation in Italy with my wife, and I still wanted to get a video out post NFL draft, just with some general thoughts. Let's cover a few things quickly. So the first thing that's most notable to me is the Houston Texans. They make that trade up, they get the second pick and the third pick. CJ Stroud at number 2. It seems like a bit of a reach. I know this draft was a bit different. There wasn't really a consensus number 1, and maybe reach is the wrong word to use, but I just don't really like CJ Stroud at number 2. I don't think the cognition test, all the stories that came out, is a huge deal. I don't put much stock into that. But as an Ohio State fan, someone who watched a lot of CJ Stroud, I don't know, there's just something about him where he seems to shrink with inferior competition. He plays down to his competition. You know, the opposite can be said. He plays up to his competition as well. In college football playoff against Georgia, he was fantastic. But I just don't know if I would want him to be the face of the franchise with a team that has really struggled over the past couple of years to take the reins and be the number 1 guy. I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But CJ Stroud, I'm just not really a huge fan of. He never really did it for me, and I didn't feel that he had any of the intangibles, really, that Bryce Young did with his intelligence and his decision-making and overall playmaking ability, or Will Levis's arm, his quick release, or Anthony Richardson's all-around athletic ability. I think CJ Stroud, he's just kind of a big guy with a pretty solid arm and has succeeded because he's had great pieces around him. So I don't know how that's going to translate in Houston, but we will see. So the Colts moving up and getting Anthony Richardson. I really like the pick. I think it's a little bit of a risk because you don't know. He's kind of had an up and down career. However, I think one of the things that you can really put your faith in is just his character. He seems like a very high character guy. He's come from a tough background, but is very positive. And it seems like he'll be someone who can kind of galvanize a team as they work through the building phases. He was at Florida. Florida wasn't necessarily a powerhouse while he was there. They struggled greatly, and he was one of the bright spots that really elevated his team. So I really like the pick. I think, honestly, people were comparing Will Levis to Josh Allen. I think Anthony Richardson is the true Josh Allen comp because he could be a guy who could lead a team in rushing and obviously passing since he's the quarterback, but he seems like a guy who could get both sides of the plan of attack on offense moving in the right direction because of his full package ability. He's going to be durable, being a bigger dude, but that speed, you can't really put any comparison on that. I think if you get the right pieces around him, he's gonna find some success. And I think having Shane Steichen in Indianapolis now, that is basically the perfect scenario for those two to come in their first year together and grow. So I think that's a really solid pick and one of the more notable ones. If I was Houston, that would have been my pick. If we're rolling the dice on someone, I would have rather taken the guy with more athletic upside and raw talent versus a guy like CJ Stroud, who's played in a system with the best receivers, one of the best offensive lines against bad competition. Okay, next. Philadelphia Eagles. They're set up to be a Super Bowl contender now for another 10 years, it seems like. They keep adding top-notch talent from the best conference in college football. Howie Roseman is just hitting home run after home run after home run. I think Jalen Carter going to Philly, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Jordan Davis there last year, he's going to go into a scenario where he's going to have support around him to mature. He's going to have to mature because it's not like they need him to play even necessarily. Obviously, they want him to because he's a supreme talent, but they already have pieces. They were in the Super Bowl last year. He's going to be forced to grow up to earn his playing time. So I think that's basically the perfect scenario that you could go to because he's going to be held accountable. So you had Jalen Carter at 9, and then at the end with the 30th pick, they get Nolan Smith. They've just loaded up with SEC guys, basically Georgia, from the past 2 seasons. And they're rolling. Like, there's no drop off with these guys whatsoever. And usually with teams that have gone to the Super Bowl or won the Super Bowl, you see they have ineffective draft picks in the following years because they're picking in the final 2 picks of the draft. They're basically second-round picks. But now you get a top 10 and you get arguably the best defensive prospect in the draft this year. They're loaded. So if I'm a Philadelphia fan, I'm extremely happy. I want to talk Baltimore Ravens. So 2 videos ago, which you should go check out, the OBJ signing that I did a video on, we were talking about how this was kind of a waste because of the Ravens system in general. Very run dominant, 46% of the time they're running the ball, and then they're bringing in brittle Odell Beckham Jr. This move, getting Zay Flowers, seems like they're changing their offensive philosophy. They're turning into a pass-first team, and they're loading up with guys who can make plays after the catch. This ultimately changes my opinion on that past video. I still think there's some valid points, and if you haven't watched it, definitely watch it. I'll link it below. They paid OBJ a ton of money. $18 million, $15 million guaranteed. That is a big contract, and I still don't think it's justified. However, getting Zay Flowers in and getting him on a rookie deal, I think that's good because you're going to have a good transition piece so you can keep the philosophy. One of my final points in that video is talking about they failed Lamar in the sense that they haven't given them adequate pieces to turn into a passer the same way they did with Josh Allen in Buffalo when they got him Stephon Diggs. A lot of pieces so he didn't have to be Superman and make average guys great, which I think that's what they've been doing with Baltimore for the past few years. I think that was a really good move by Baltimore. It seems like they're turning a corner. They got Lamar back under contract. Now they're loaded up with offensive weapons, so it's a scary time for everyone else in the AFC North. Okay, so I'm going to keep getting fat here in Italy, eating my face off and relaxing. Excited to be back and get some more videos out. Gonna be writing, doing some brainstorming up until that point to give you guys what you want. But thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know your team's favorite pick from this draft. All right.